Welcome back, everybody. On the last video, we showed you how we took a desk that needed a little bit of love and attention, and we gave it. We gave it love, and we definitely gave it attention. We painted it a little bit and put a nice coating on the top, made it look fabulous. Don't you think so, Alice?
Yes, it was beautiful.
It was beautiful. So, but we didn't show you how we did it. And so today we want to do a quick video on the setting up and doing a little bit of the painting on a piece of furniture so that somebody that has not had the opportunity or the experience to do it can get started. Maybe you've been intimidated. Maybe you don't have the space. You don't have like a paint shop. You don't have a garage. Maybe you don't even live in a house. You're in an apartment, you're renting a room, whatever the reason is. Or maybe you don't have the budget for it. Maybe you don't have the spray guns and the air compressor, and you just don't have a lot of money to spend. We're going to make it very friendly, budget friendly for you, just so that you can get started. And, or another reason might be because you don't have the time. You might be afraid that, hey, if I get this project started, I might not be able to finish it today. Well, guess what? You don't have to finish a project the same day. Like the desk and the nightstand that we did on the previous videos, we knocked it off in one day. It took us a couple of hours and we were able to get it done. Have I ever not finished a project the same day, Alice?
Yes.
A lot of them. In fact, we're going to show you the secretary desk. It's a desk that I'm going to be using it for. It's a personal desk of mine. And I take my time with it because, one, it's a moment that helps me relax, and I do enjoy working on it. So the quality of the project, the longer you take, the nicer it comes out as well. For me, it's more because I don't have the capability to finish a project in one day. So today I'm going to be doing two shelves, and I'm going to be doing three small drawer fronts that go inside of the secretary desk. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the piece of furniture it is, whether it's a desk, whether it's a dresser, whatever it may be, dining room, living room, bedroom. If you're not satisfied with the way it looks, do something about it. Take a brush, get some paint. You can do many things to a piece of furniture, and you can even, I don't know, put stickers on it, Mod Podge, right? Is that
Mod Podge.
Mod Podge, something like that? You could also stain a piece of furniture. You have options. Today, we're going to be taking a brush and painting it.
You just did an axe throw.
Was that an extra? Who throws axes?
Lumberjacks.
Why do they throw axes?
Because they get mad and the closest thing they have to them is a tree, so they go like,
All right. Well, let's go and get this project started. So this is the secretary desk that I'm working on. And I basically painted the frame brown. It's a metallic brown. And the drawer fronts are in a metallic aqua blue. And I like it. It looks really pretty. And it's exactly how I wanted it to be. We're not done with the shelves yet, so we're gonna take out the shelves that go up on top, and we're gonna take them to the place where we're going to set up to paint them. So the first thing you want to do is put something down on the floor. Whether you have carpet or hard floor, you probably want to protect your flooring. Right now I do have a tarp, and it's what I have to work with right now. I'm also using a folding table. You probably don't want your best table because you're going to be spilling stuff on it, banging it. So this is my work it hard kind of table. Um, then I actually like to protect it as well, because you spill so much paint that at the end it looks ridiculous, and I don't use it just for painting. Sometimes I use it for woodworking. Sometimes we use it with the kids for family projects. Now this is a paint paper cloth, and it's more absorbent than the throwdown that I have in the floor. I use both sides or either side. What I like about it is that when the drop of paint falls in it or on top of it, it doesn't just stay there. On my tarp in the bottom, if I drip some paint and then accidentally step over it and then walk out of my working area, I will have paint in my carpet or hardwood, and that's why I don't recommend a tarp, but it is what I'm using right now. This is very absorbent. As soon as the drops of paint fall on top of it, it actually absorbs it and it dries better. And if you step over it, it will usually not transfer to your shoe. It's very, very forgiving. So we have the shelves that we're going to be painting here. We do have 2 of them. So you want to put something underneath them and raise them off of the surface, because if you have them flat in the table and then you're coming around the curves and the edges with a brush, you're going to get some of your table, and or you may have some paint that will sit on the edge and dry and glue your piece of work to your table or whatever tarp you have. So you can buy little plastic triangles, but what happens with that is that I actually don't like them. They're too small, so I just chopped some 4x4s into pyramids, and I use these because they raise the piece higher up. Now, if you're not able to get one of these, let me show you something else that you can do. You can basically look around your home for anything that you can use. This is part of a toy that we no longer use from when I had a baby, and these were the legs. And what it is it's a piece of plastic with a hole for the screw, and the top of it is rubber. And what I like about that is that I can set it, and then I can put the piece that I'm working on. It elevates it off the table, but because it has rubber on top of it, it also doesn't allow me to move it even if I go hard on it. So here are 2 different ways that you can set up to paint something small. You may want to take this and put it on the side. A lot of people will clamp them to like a workbench. These are so small and so narrow that they could get knocked over, but at the same time, when you paint it, you're probably going to be wanting to hold it with one hand. And this is a note for you, Alice. So when you do it, it doesn't fall off. And they're small enough to be able to handle them really easy. So what we're going to do next is bring some of the tools. Okay, what you're going to need is some paint. You're going to need a mallet. You're going to need something to open your can with. I'm going to use a screwdriver. You're going to need a brush. You're going to want to wear some gloves. You're going to need a paint steer stick. And I like to have a microfiber paint cloth that I already have some paint on it. So it doesn't necessarily have to be perfectly clean. This is what I use most of the time. And it's just what I prefer to use. You can use any rug as long as it doesn't leave any residue behind. A lot of the cotton stuff will. You know where to get these little paint sticks. You can get it at any big store. Um, you can use a very nice brush. This is not the best brush I have. I have some very expensive brushes, but this is actually a very old from the dollar store, not in very good condition brush that I'm going to be using. And the reason is because I want to show you that you can paint with something like this. In fact, to tell you the truth, I don't use my very expensive roller brushes on projects like this. I personally like to roll a lot of times. If you ask my brother, he'll tell you, you roll the paint? You shouldn't roll the paint. I roll my paint. I'm going to be using this brush that sometimes in emergencies I have used. In fact, on the desk that we used, I have used that. So the paint that we're going to be using today, what I used is a PPG metallic. And this is their Aqua Essence color. And it just happens to be what we're using for this particular project. You don't have to use a metallic. You can use a flat. You can use milk paint. You can use, there's so many different types depending on what kind of finish you want to do. We're going to do a solid. We're not going to do like like a farm style project or a rustic project. I do have some of the paint still from the desk. This is my refill. So what I'm gonna do is try to finish this up. So let's go ahead and put on, I like to use just one glove to tell you the truth. I don't usually use two, so this is my messy hand. But trust me, a lot of times I do get dirty as well. You wanna open your can. Another reason to have a cloth already set up is because you definitely want to put it down, not on your table, not on your desk, not in any other piece of furniture. Put the lid down wherever it is that you have set up for work. Get your stick, give it a good shake. Paint does need to get mixed. I have very little of this paint here left, maybe just barely enough for these shelves, but if not, we do have another can that we went and got as a backup. Stir it plenty. I've stirred this for a while before we got started. So you can use your brush and brush some of that paint off your stick. Then I like to put my stick down on the lid, and that way it's not on my carpet, it's not on my furniture, it's nowhere else. The mallet, we're going to use it when we close the can, so for now I'm just going to move it out of the way. And the screwdriver, we don't need it anymore either. So what I'm going to do is just move it completely out, because sometimes it just becomes something that's on the way. The rug or paper towels or whatever it is that you want to use, people have different preferences. I do like to have it near me. The reason being is because you may have a drip or you may have a stain where you don't want that paint to go, and you have to find a way to get it off, whatever it is, right away. So have that ready. What do you do next? You just put your brush inside of the can. Is this fun, Alice?
Yeah, it's relaxing.
Is it relaxing for you? For me, it is as well. Today, it's a little bit not relaxing because maybe this is like the third time we've tried to take this take, and
Yep.
now we've succeeded. But what would you say to people who want to take on a job, a small paint project?
Just do it. I mean, um, If it's like one color and no detail, it'll be easy. But if you have detail, you can still do it, but you need to be more focused than when it's just one color. Because when it's one color, the only thing you really need to know is there parts that have bubbles? Is there parts that I haven't painted? Or is there parts that are like different colors, like
Okay.
different shades?
So what I've been doing is dipping the brush inside of the paint because you want to saturate the brush or the roller, whatever it is that you are painting. So I'm gonna go ahead and do one shelf. We're gonna do the first coat. And basically what I want to do with the first coat is have fun. And all I want to do really is just cover the piece with paint. Grab some more paint. If you're gonna drip, bring the can over. If your can is full, you can put it in another container so that it doesn't drip. And once I have some paint on my project, I like to get rid of the most paint in the middle. And once I have less paint on my brush, that's when I like to come and I'll go across the grain and do the edges. There's a little bit of a wobble on my paint job, on my piece. And the reason why I'm going across the grain is because I want to just make sure I get paint on that edge. And then I want to do with the grain and do those edges. And I can borrow some paint from the middle or get it from the can and just have fun. Isn't that looking pretty already? You can already tell what it's going to look like, right?
Yeah.
And I like to, if you have double edges here, I want to start with the top one. If you have drippage like I did here, I have too much paint. You want to touch it, pay attention to it right away. But if I just painted some of the edge there, I'm not concerned. That looks flat. I just want to be concerned about the edge. And then really quickly, don't wait too much, don't wait too long, and then go into the center. And the reason for that is because the paint is already starting to dry, and I just want to get the entire surface with paint. My concern is not how it's looking right now. Who cares how it's looking? To me, it's already looking pretty. I just want to have fun with you guys today. I had a little bit too much paint there because I came off the edge into the piece. And when you do that, you will have a charge of paint there. Try not to do that. Try to come off the edge as much as you can and not have too much paint in your brush when you're doing the edges here. I'm about to drip. I call this drippage control. Just like when I had too much paint here, it's something that you want to address right away. Whenever you work an edge, you want to lean over and look at that edge because I do have some paint dripping on that end as well. And then I don't have any here. I have a little bit of too much paint there. I just want to give it a quick brush, take some of that paint away. Address drippage right away. I have my piece with paint, and then before I finish it off, I just want to do a long stroke, not taking too much paint out of the piece. At this point, if you touch it, you're starting to take paint off instead of putting it on. Now, I have paint on my top. I will now go to my sides. And I'm so glad that I elevated this piece. I haven't gotten any more paint from my can because, again, I'm not concerned about fully putting a lot of paint and making it look pretty and saturating it with paint. I just want to have some paint in the piece of wood. Why? Well, because believe it or not, um, it's hard for paint to hold onto wood. You can use a primer. Depending on the quality of the paint that you use, you probably, especially on first projects, you want to do that. I already know how this is going to turn out, and because of the type of paint that I'm using, the wood, the way it is, I'm gonna be just fine. So really, what if you think of the first coat as glue, you're putting something for the paint to bond to the wood. So I'm actually using paint to bond to the wood. So once this coat of paint bonds to the wood, it'll dry up. And then when I come back with additional, I think I'm stretching it too far, so I'm going to get a little bit more paint here. You learn how to do these decisions by doing projects, by having fun. Just come out and get it done. Get the project started. You can make your dresser look nicer. You can make your desk look nicer. What would you paint, Alice?
What would I paint? I think I would paint my bed frame.
All right, you can do that. So, I'm gonna knock this guy down really quickly. And that's my first coat, I think. If you find parts that have way too much paint, it's too thick, give it a quick brush. Be careful with that because the paint is it's not almost dry, but it's drier. So if you pass the brush, you're going to remove some of the paint. You're going to elevate some parts of it. You're going to have ridges, and they're not going to go away. They're not going to flatten out because it's not as liquidy anymore. So I'm done with that. I'm going to go ahead and do one of these guys for you. And we're going to call it the first coat. Now, again, like I said, you want to be careful about your surroundings. Make sure you don't back up into anything. And what you want to do, can everybody see this, Alice? Okay, so what you want to do is just put the first coat. This is going to look so pretty. I thought it was going to be more like this and then put a clear coat and make it look shabby chic, and I think I would have loved to have done that. But I want this piece to match my bedroom set. So I do want solids, and I do want metallic. Does this look good already?
Yes.
Let me put my brush down. And I'm gonna wipe off whatever paint I have dripping anywhere else. I didn't drip to the floor, but I am covered just in case I do. I didn't drip at all to the table. Again, if you have any drippage, you want to do drippage control. Does it look like a solid piece? No. This is definitely not. You can see right through the paint. I'm going to give you guys a close-up of this guy. I'm not touching where the paint is, but I'm comfortable handling it. Now, let's show you guys how this looks. And that's how it is right now. It looks wet. You can still see right through the colors that were underneath. So it's by far not ready at all. But like I said, that is the first coat. So I'm gonna go ahead and paint the other guys off the camera, and then I'm going to bring you back when this paint is not dry, because the paint needs to dry, and then after it dries, it needs to cure. Basically, what that means is when it dries, it's ready to be handled and touched without the paint transferring to your hand, but it's actually not ready. It needs to cure. You need to give it some time until the paint in between dries up and the paint underneath dries up, not just the surface paint. But so far, not intimidating. We used a dollar store brush, and it's looking good. So let me bring you back when we're ready to do the second coat. Once you have all the drawers or all the pieces that you're going to paint with the first coat, go ahead and take off your gloves. When you put down your brush, I just put it, to tell you the truth, on top of the can. It's not going to dry up, not badly enough. I use the rug that I have to wipe off 2 drops that I had in my fingers in my left hand. That paint is completely wet on the last piece that I brushed, but I just finished brushing that. And if we look at the first piece, it's looking drier in most areas. And if you look at this piece, let's see if I can get some of that glare, but it's pretty much dry to the eyesight here. But if you look right there, it's a little bit shinier, so that's still wet. I'm not gonna start brushing on top of that, not yet. Let's give it some time. It depends on the paint that you are using. Let's give it, for this one, because I have the fan already blowing on it as well, that's also a good idea. And it's not, the temperature has something to do with it. The humidity has something to do with how fast the paint dries. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it at least an hour or two before we do the second coat. So we'll be right back. So it hasn't even been an hour. And again, like I said, it depends on the type of paint that you have and the environment. But I've already noticed that this paint is actually dry enough to go ahead and put a second coat on it. So I want to take advantage of the time, because today I would like to do all 3 coats. If you don't have the time, you can also do the different coats in different days, depending on how much time you have. Or you can do the entire project. It looks nice already. It looks so beautiful. Look at that color. It's pretty much looking like a solid color already. But don't be lazy. We're gonna have to do some more work. Let me bring up this drawer, and what I want to do is show you how beautiful it looks and what I'm looking for. Isn't that pretty? It's already shiny. You can already see the metallic paint coming through. But really, if you want the beauty of metallic paint, you want to do at least a second coat. We are probably going to do a third one. It depends on how the second one ends up looking. But if you can see, there's different shades of paint. There's some of the brown still coming through. And if you look at that upper corner, it looks like it's missing paint. It's not. It's got a very light cover on it. And that's perfect because remember what I said. I want the paint to be present to adhere to the wood. So really, we're going to do the second coat, and the paint is going to adhere not to the wood but to the paint itself, the one that we have on. So let me go back to the shelf. We're gonna do that piece. And that will show you basically the same thing that we've done to all the other pieces. I'm going to grab my brush again, and it's a very sad looking brush. Usually I cut these things off before I start the project, but on this occasion I didn't. And that's okay because those hairs are not going to be, the individual fibers are not going to be on my way, not for this project because I'm not doing any closed or enclosed areas or curves. It's a flat surface. The first coat, I was a little bit careless with it, and I had a lot of fun working with it. The second coat, or your last coat, or your following coats, you have to be a little bit more careful, and you have to make sure that the coating that you do is as even as possible. You want to look for those areas like you did in the drawer. Like here, I do have an area that is a little bit lighter in paint. That's what I'm looking for. Those are my targets. What I want to do is look for those areas and put some paint on it. Make sure I don't miss out on them. So again, I saturated my brush with paint. I throw some of the paint in there so that I don't have any drippage. And then I'm going to do the same thing I did with the first one, tuckle the edges. I'm going to go cross grain. And then I'm going to go ahead and go with the grain and make sure I get some paint in there. Looks like I'm going to need a little bit more paint, so I'm going to go get more from. And I did drip a little bit of paint on my table, and that's fine. It doesn't matter. I did also drip some paint onto my workpiece. Those you want to take care of right away. And you want to go back where you had more paint, even it out. You don't want those surfaces to be uneven. But what I'm concentrating on is my edges. Now I'm going back to the other cross edge. And I'm checking to see if I have any drippage. I did have some drippage on the edge. So I just do some quick drippage control because you don't want to go to the edge underneath and then find out that there was a big drop that it already dried off. And now you have to sand down and it's not looking good. You want your project to look as good as possible. Okay, I want to get a little bit more paint for that edge. But when I grab it, I usually have too much on my brush. So what I want to do, again, is put it somewhere in the middle until I'm comfortable, and then I go back to working that edge. And when you think you're looking over the piece and you got everything, you want to come around and make sure that you got everything. And you want to look down to make sure that you don't have any drippage. My edges are good. I don't have any saturation of paint. I did dump some here So I want to give it a quick brush before I get more. Why? Again, I don't want any buildups. You don't want to go heavy with paint. If you go heavy, you think you're going to save some time, but you're not saving time. You're creating more work for yourself. It's not going to look good. You're going to need to do some sanding afterwards. The paint will actually go easier on the piece on the second coat. So really what you're doing is brushing it on, making sure you're putting paint on the second coat and not back on the same spot and then forgetting and not covering all of it. So it's very tricky on your eyes. What you want to do is make sure that you have shiny all over your piece. If there's a place that is dry and dull, it's because you haven't touched it yet. You want to move really quickly because, again, I don't want to start taking off paint, but now I want to go all the way from the right and go long brushes because I want to be done with this and stop. This paint is just drying up way too fast. In fact, it's drying up on me as I'm brushing, even though I have plenty of paint going in my brush. Alice, can you kill that fan? I think it's the fan. That is crazy. But the last strokes, you want them to be longer all the way from one end. It doesn't matter if it's left to right or right to left, but you want to make sure they are long. And then you can go to your edges. And now when you do that, try not to get on the top anymore. And if you have other pieces around it, you want to clear the area and just take your time, have fun with it. I just love it how like you transform a piece. That's basically what you're doing. I want to be satisfied with the way this piece looks when it's in my bedroom and I'm about to go to sleep and I look at it. Before it used to be like, I think I would love it if it looked different. I'm not happy with how it looks right now. And as I'm progressing, I go like, I love it. And just always go back and check for drippage. If you need to move a piece so you can get to an edge, go ahead and do that. It's better than you knocking it off. Be aware of your surroundings because God knows I've knocked off other pieces and then they fall off the table and then they fall off to the ground. And then you're cleaning up the floor and whatever else you transferred by stepping on it because you don't realize until you've transferred that paint from your shoe to your kitchen, your living room, your dining room, your backyard. You'll find paint on your horse if you have one, and you will be like, how did this get here? If you have chickens, they will be with paint, and you're going to be like, how did that blue paint get there? Okay, let's call that done. And let's look for the third coat in a little bit. So let's let this dry up. So I am done putting the second coat on every piece. I came back to check on it, and I can tell by looking at this piece that there's some parts that they have a different color to them. It's not that the paint did not go there, it's that the paint is still fresh. I need to give this piece more time to dry before I go back with my third coat. I believe I will be doing a third coat. It's looking beautiful. It's looking nice. you don't see any of the brown anymore. On the first coat, we just wanted to make sure that we had it throughout the piece, not for consistency in color. On the second coat, you want to look for those spots that you missed and make sure your first priority is that you hit those spots and get some of that blue in there. You're still not going to be 100% consistent in color, or you may be. I have had pieces that I just did two and then I was done. So with this one, we don't know yet. I want to take a look at it once the paint has dried up. I still have my brush on top of my can. I've had times where I felt that I needed to put the lid back on, and that's what I did. For this project, I'm okay with the paint like that. I've done it many times, and you can continue using the paint. So I'm just gonna leave it like that because this is drying up fairly fast. It won't be long before I come back and make a final decision on what I need to do with these pieces, and then I will give you a close-up. So let's wait and see. All right, so I started doing the third coat on some of them,
What is that? How do you do
and
that?
oh, what I do is snap my fingers. I don't know what it is. You do not need to know how to do that to paint. But what you do need to do is have a little bit of fun.
So confused.
Are you trying it?
Yes.
Okay.
I
She's
don't.
still she's still trying.
I can't do it.
Okay, I'm gonna put my gloves back on, but I went ahead and did a third coat on all of these pieces, but I did leave one without because I just want to do it for you guys. So instead of working on this piece, I want to do it on this one. And what I want to tell you is painting, there's no right or wrong way of doing it. Everybody will tell you that there are different ways. Somebody might be like, well, you need to sand in between. You could sand in between. You also could have multiple coats, up to 5 or whatever. It all depends on the project and what you're working on tells you how to do it. Like for instance, one of those coats, we noticed that we had the fan on. I forgot that I had the fan still running, and my paint was drying up on me because of the environment that I'm in. So you need to keep your eyes open and you need to keep your ears awake and open, and you need to make sure that everything the environment is telling you, you adjust to it. This is how it looks after the second coat. Look at that. Isn't that pretty, Alice?
Yeah. That's beautiful.
I love how it
Wow.
shines. Did you say wow or meow?
Wow.
Okay.
It's a mixture.
It's a mix.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and put on one more coat.
Okay.
So this one, the others I painted with them on the table. I just want to show you, you could do it with the brush and the piece in your hand. And again, I just want to make sure that it's nice and even. Now you want to make sure that whatever you do will affect how it looks at the end. So I'm going to start right at the edge. I'm going to start right at the edge. And then I'm going to bring it all the way through. And I'm going to do long strokes. And I was going to do a final one, but again, the piece will talk to you. And this one, I don't want to touch it anymore. I do have some drippage control that I want to take care of here. And I'm basically happy with how this turned out. I'm gonna set this piece down, and that's basically it. What do you think would be the scariest part of painting for somebody that hasn't done it before, Alice?
Um, using a wrong tool. Like if you want to have like be able to see the strokes, like kind of like what we're doing here, and then you use like a foam brush, it won't really work because it'll leave like bubbles in it, and it'll be like
Well, it depends on the
bad.
project because,
Yeah.
again, I've used foam brushes and done it as well. It depends on the project. Make sure you keep your eyes open. Okay, before I let you go and we call it done, give this a lot of time before you actually touch it again. Let it dry, and then after you dry, let it cure. Don't touch it for days if possible. I'm gonna put my brush down on a piece of paper, and the last thing I want to show you is how to close your can. I know it's easy, you just close it with a mallet, but I'll tell you what. Um, what happens is that you're going to have splash of paint all over. So what you want to do is make sure you have something solid underneath. Go ahead and cover it. Get your your mallet. It should be a soft rubber mallet. I've done this and just whack it around a few times. Don't. Just don't. Because you already have the paint on the edges, and as soon as you hammer it, it will splash, and you will find it in your walls. Where else, Alex?
On your clothing, on you,
Do
on
this.
the person next door.
Get that rug that we use where we clean off some of the paint. Cover it completely. That way when it splashes, it won't splash on you or anything else. And I think with that, we can call it done. Did you have fun, Alex?
Yep.
What was your favorite part about it?
Painting.
Oh yeah, you got to paint on it.
Definitely.
So if you can do it, I think almost anybody can do it, right?
Yeah.
I think definitely if you can paint, Alice, anybody should be able to do it. Just go ahead and do it. Get it started. Get that first project, you know?
Yeah.
So I think we're done. I'm done with this brush. Yep, I'm done with
Wait,
it.
wait. Don't throw that.
Why?
Because it has paint.
Oh, that's right. Yep, let's not do that. So, yes, be careful with paint and your brushes and whatever else. Put everything away. And most of all, have fun. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy. You could do this with a 10-year-old. That's what I'm doing right now. And actually, my baby is also right there. And he's like, all right, I got to be quiet for a few seconds. And then, but it's so satisfying whenever you turn something that you're not completely happy on how it looks. And maybe you want to make it black. Maybe you want to make it white. Whatever color you want to choose, go and get it and then just paint it, you know. And there's so many different styles that we can paint. But I think to do the first project, a solid color is good. We're not doing shabby chic right now. We're doing fun. We're doing metallic. I love how this color looks. I didn't choose it. It was chosen for me. And whenever the sun comes down and my room is a little bit dark and some of the moonlight hits my my bedroom set, I love how the blue shines, and it just, oh, you guys have to see it to know what I'm talking about. So I want to thank you so much for being with us. Hit the like button. I invite you to hit the like button. I also invite you to subscribe with us. I'm gonna have more fun. I want to share it with you. Come and have more fun with me, and we're gonna call this a wrap.